Secret to passing the PMP exam is... Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Victoria Kehinde. In this video, I'm going to be sharing all of the resources that I used to pass the exam. I've always been interested in project management, and even at my role as an industrial engineer, I was always working on different projects, whether it's machine procurement, machine disposal, machine optimization. I was always gathering teams of people, whether from maintenance, tooling, automation, figure out the project to be done. So for me, I've always done projects, and even at my current role as a consultant, I'm still doing projects, and yeah, I'm still working with people. The important thing to know about project management is it's people management. So you're always managing people. That is one of the reasons why I decided to take this exam. I felt like this exam is a good opportunity to learn some of the project management best practice. PMP is a globally recognized certificate. You can use it anywhere. It's not specific to one country. Another reason why I decided to pursue the PMP is because it's not industry specific. See, if you're in food and beverage, healthcare, tech, it's not industry specific. So the project management professional is actually an exam, a certificate that you can take in whatever industry you're in. Everybody interested in leading people, everybody interested in management positions should improve themselves, understand the best practices on how to lead projects. The major study materials to use is the PMP guide, the Ramydal's Udemy course, which I'm going to link on the side. Definitely register for that course if you're trying to understand the concept. I feel like it talks about a lot of things. It talks about how to write a good application. It does a good job breaking down complex concepts. First time preparing for the exam, there are a lot of terms that I did not know. When I was preparing for the exam, I had to speed it up just because I wanted to use the video for my application. I do want to add that a requirement is that you have 35 hours of training somewhere, anywhere. So if you've taken a class before, you can use that as your 35 hours of training, or Andrew Ramydal's class also qualifies for 35 hours of training if you want to apply for the PMP exam. So one thing about Udemy is they're always doing discounts and deals every month. Right now, I think they're doing a deal. Usually the class is $120, but I think it's going for about $22 the last time I checked. Which is very cost effective because we want to save the clients, right? Once you buy the class, you already have the class, so you can study and watch the videos at your own pace. So that's one thing I like about Udemy. I also recommend David McClann's video on YouTube. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, but I'm going to link the video down below. I think his video does a good job in helping you have the PMP mindset. Because one thing about the questions I know for sure is that the questions are kind of tricky. And I say this because sometimes they ask you questions and all of the answers are right. But the key word is, as a project manager, what should you do first, or what should you do next? So those kind of questions, you have to really be careful, and you have to really make sure you understand like the steps in terms of what to do first and what to do next. I think David McClann's video does a good job in helping you eliminate wrong choices. So I wouldn't say his questions are very similar to the PMP exam, but I would say his questions, they're very good for helping you develop that minds and the process of elimination. When you're reading questions, you need to understand that you have to choose the best choice, and his videos do a good job. But when I was doing my research as to what resources to use, I saw a lot of people recommend the Agile Practice Guide, but I didn't have enough time to read the book in details. I didn't have enough time to read every single page of the book. In McClann's video, it does have videos talking about Agile, and I think I did see some questions just based on my understanding of Agile processes, what delivery cadence is, some of the Agile words, just helping me understand it. So it does a great job at breaking it down. So I prefer the videos, compared to the book. So if you are short on time and, you don't have enough time to read the book, which I do recommend that you do, recommend watching his videos. Secret to passing the PMP exam is Study Hall. Study Hall is offered by PMI, and it makes sense. I mean, PMI are the ones writing the exam. It makes sense that most of their questions will be similar. So I can tell you for sure that the Study Hall is the most important resource that you need to get. First thing you want to do when you get the Study Hall is make sure you set your exam date. With the study hall, it allows you to be able to set your exam date. So you don't just answer a question and then see your grade and that's it for the study hall. You have to read the explanation for every single question. It actually helps you develop the PM mindset, which is the project manager mindset. If you're reading questions and you're not understanding why that is the right answer, you're actually doing yourself a disservice and you're wasting your money. I decided to take the exam in the summer. I started preparing for the exam in June. So I pretty much used June and July to prepare for the exam, and I took the exam first week of August. For me, I wanted to take enough time to practice because I was new to some of these project management terms, and so I wanted to make sure that I had enough time to practice, understand, and learn the concept. If you're preparing for the exam and you don't have other commitments, I would say it's something you can do in 1 month. But if you have other commitment like school, work, say 2 months is a pretty good timeline to prepare for your exam. I wouldn't prepare for the exam like 6 months, 7 months, because you'll forget. So I would say 6 months is a stretch. At 6 months, you're just learning everything again, honestly. To each his own. Do whatever you're comfortable with, but make sure that whenever you set a timeline, you just stick to it and you're committed to it. I used mostly weekends. My Fridays and my Saturdays, I used to prepare for the exam. I'm the kind of person that I don't like to feel like I'm taking an exam, like when I'm preparing for an exam, but like I said, it depends on you. So for me, I would take practice exams during the week. I would like test my knowledge in certain times while I use weekends to practice myself in different concepts. So for example, I can take 1 weekend to really learn everything about plan cost management and fully understand all of the different aspects of it. And then during the week, I can take practice tests to test my knowledge and my understanding on the concept that I learned during the weekend. So you can adopt that one, but you can also switch and kind of, play around with it a little bit to kind of understand what works best for you. But I do recommend just testing your knowledge. Just make sure you're practicing to make sure that you're really understanding the concept. So I didn't really have any issues with the material, but I did have some issues with the practice questions, which I will share later. But in terms of the material, I did not have any issues, and I have a math background, so I didn't really have issues with the math. And to be honest, I don't think the math for this exam is complex. Like my personal opinion, I don't think it was complex. I think just understanding the concept, they had a lot of concept. So there was a lot of learning involved with that, and just understanding the concept. One challenge I had is sometimes forgetting. So that's where examples played a role. So I had to make sure I'm not just cramming concept upon concept. I had to make sure that I was understanding. One of the things I really liked about preparing for this exam is that everything is practical. So if you talk about any concept, you can explain it practical. You can use any project to explain it. As soon as I started focusing on understanding as opposed to just cramming terms, I started to grasp concept more. There's some terms that you have to just know. For example, the 5 stages of team development, forming, storming, norming. There's some terms that you just have to cram a little bit, but it also makes sense to understand. For example, when your projects first start, you have to form, right? And then what happens next? People start to clash, storming, and then, things start to die down a little bit. So you have to, if you use examples behind it, if you try to understand it, if you use examples behind the concept, I feel like it does help. As I already told you, the secret to passing this exam, it's a study all. Now, the way to use study all, like I mentioned earlier, is you want to make sure you're reading every single explanation. And sometimes study all recycles questions in the practice. So for example, if you failed a question before, you might see a question similar to that question in a future practice. So it helps you to just see and make sure you're understanding, because in this exam, I told you, sometimes all of the answers are right. You just have to pick the best one for that situation. I didn't have any challenge with the material per se, but I had a challenge with the practice. exams. That was my challenge. It was boring. Me, I did a PMI study or essential, and the essential comes with 2 practice exams, which helps to simulate the actual exam. I think you get 175 questions, if I remember, but the actual exam is 180 questions. But 5 of those 180 questions are test questions by PMI, and those test questions you will not be graded on those questions, but you won't know which ones are the test questions. So you want to make sure that you're doing every single question, like you're going to be graded on it. So for me, I had 2 full exams with my PMI study or essentials, and also some mini practice tests, which I did during the week. For these 2 practice exams, I wanted to really simulate the actual exam. The first one was very challenging because I was dozing off while I was taking the test. It was very boring. Think about it. You're reading situational questions. They're giving you scenarios, different scenarios in different industries, and they're asking you, what will you do as a project manager? When you're taking the practice exam, make sure you're simulating the real test. You're sitting down for the exam, and you're just taking at most 2 10-minute break. So that way, when you get to the exam, your mind is focused. Let me tell you what was happening to me at the exam. Like while I was reading the question, my mind was just trying to divert. I was like, you're not going anywhere. Come back here. You move, I move. That kind of a deal. I think the study all questions were longer compared to the actual exam, but the question was still long because they're all situational questions, and they're asking you, what will you do as a project manager? So you want to make sure that you are able to concentrate for that long period of time. I've read reviews of people saying that they were sleeping in the actual exam. That's why they failed the first exam. And me, I was like, dozing off during the practice exam was enough to tell me that, that's a possibility that can happen to me. So I had to make sure that I train myself to actually concentrate for that long before going to the actual exam. There's 2 exams on Study All. Essentials, like I said, I think for Study All Plus you get 5 exams. And personally, I think Study All Essentials is enough. I believe Study All Essentials is $50, while Study All Plus is $79. But I will put it on the screen just so you know the actual cost. It might have changed, who knows. I took the exam in person because I had heard like different stories about, the laptop screen just went off, internet thing, this happened. So for me, I didn't want that to happen to me. And then they canceled the exam, so I went in person. But I've also heard success stories about people that took, online and it worked out. But for me, I didn't want to risk it, so I went in person to take the test. And I had to set the exam date because, as we know, if you don't set a date, you are going to be preparing for a long time. You just keep moving the date. So if you decide to take this exam and you really want to take the exam, set a date and book the dates. Like, book the dates now. If you just like wing it this month, you're still preparing. And don't be surprised, it happens to the best of us. I did. You don't have to do it, but before the exam day, I watched some of the videos again and the Ramydal's video just to make sure that I completely understood the process flow, the process groups. I wanted to make sure that I understood some of the terms better before going for the exam. And on the exam day, I'm in the afternoon. I'm not a morning person. Yeah, you have to figure out what time works better for you. Some people are active in the mornings. I'm not a morning person, but I could take an exam in the morning and be fine. But I just wanted to give myself that grace to avoid traffic or whatever happens in the morning. So I took mine in the afternoon. And of course, I went early to make sure that I got the right location. I think I got there about 30 minutes early. And they'll give you lockers to put your stuff. You need a form of identification. So whenever you leave the exam room, whenever you're going back in, you need your identification card to go back in. I don't know about other testing centers, but like the thing about the exam is not everybody is there for the PMP exam. So if you go to the exams, don't expect everybody to be writing the same exam. Some people are writing other exams. That's just one thing to know. For me, I had to go through all of the formulas that I learned one more time. I had a formula sheet that I had to make sure that, I knew all of the formulas going into the exam room. You're not allowed to take any paper in, just so you know, but you can cram the formulas before you go in. They gave me a board with a marker, so you can quickly write down formulas as soon as you enter the hall. And the first 60 questions were tougher than the rest of the questions. So when you start the exam and you are not sure where you're going, don't be discouraged. You have 230 minutes, you have 3 sections. The entire 180 questions is timed. So when you're done with your first 60 questions, you have the opportunity to go on a break. It's not compulsory, you can continue, but you can't go back to the first 1 to 60 questions. So continue from 60 to 120. And when you're working on 60 to 120 section, once you move to 121, you can't see question 120 anymore. So it's grouped into 3 sections. So you have to answer the questions. And in that section, if you mark any question to go back and review, make sure you review within that section. You can't go from section to section. After the first section, I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I did. The second section and the third section, I started to see some questions similar to study hall, a little bit calm. But after the exam, I still was not sure about how I performed. It was when I got out and they gave me a slip of paper saying I passed. When I saw that I was so happy. I was like, oh, thank God I don't have to go for the exam again. I really enjoyed the training process, but it was also kind of stressful. The next day after my test, although I got on the paper that I passed, they had something saying they have to review to confirm. So I think the review to confirm is just to make sure that there was no suspicious activities during the time that I took the test. So the next day for me, I got an email from PMI saying, congratulations, here's a certificate. And I found out that I got above targets in all areas. In conclusion, preparing for the exam is definitely something you can do. Just make sure that you're understanding the concept, because these concepts are useful not only for your exam, but they're useful while working as a project manager. So make sure you're really understanding the concept as opposed to just cramming terms and cramming words. The requirement for PMI is that you have led a project before. So all of the projects you've done, even while in school, you can use it to submit your application, because those are projects as well. Don't be discouraged if you don't have a lot of experience working as a project manager. You don't have to have had a project manager title to apply. I was working at the time as an industrial engineer, and I've led projects. So I use that. Whatever industry you're in, if you've led projects in the past, or even if you've led projects to student organizations, things like that. If you guys have any questions, just comment down below and I'll be happy to respond to your questions. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.